Diablo has had some major recent controversies, so we need to go over those really quickly. We also need to go over the update for Twitch drops because I have a ton of information there, as well as some of our other major questions that we've had over the past few weeks that developers have been answering on Twitter these last few days. We also got to talk about a physical leaderboard happening, and a whole bunch more. What's up, World Streamer? Back in that video, and today we're checking out all things Diablo 4. Okay, so let's just get into the first controversy, and the first major one happened yesterday, and it happened with Future Game Show. Now, there is a lot of rumors going around and speculation. No one really knows the answers to this, but apparently the QA questions were pretty fake. Now, there was one or two real questions, but the other questions were completely fake. If you index search for them, they weren't there. Nobody ever asked that question, and the accounts that they used had like one post karma, or never made the account, or never had a Twitter account. So it's apparent they either rephrased these questions or completely made them up. And if you look at Future Game Show's tweet about the Q&A stuff, they didn't get any replies at all. So it's probably really not on Blizzard for this one, and it's more so on Future Game Show making up QA questions. I'm really not sure why they did this. I get that they weren't getting the traction that they wanted on Twitter, but they could have made like a little AMA thing on Reddit and got a ton of posts. They also could have made a YouTube video talking about it prior and got that pushed. So yeah, not sure why they just made the one tweet and kind of gave up and then made their own questions. Seems a bit odd if they were to do that. Again, this is all allegedly and we don't really know. It's more so speculation. They did update the YouTube description to say that the usernames were changed for anonymity. However, even the questions that were asked are literally unfound. You can't find them on any platform. I think there's one or two questions in the video that actually were real people and were real questions that you can link back to. However, the other ones do not exist on any form. You can literally index search for them. So unless they paraphrase them, which realistically, why would you do that? You shouldn't really paraphrase a user question unless there's like spell check errors. I don't know, that's at least my opinion with it. But this one's probably not on Blizzard, so we'll move on. Now, we do have those Twitch drop updates. I know there was a ton of confusion with the Twitch drops, and I talked about them in my last video. And honestly, there was a ton of confusion, both on my comments section for the YouTube and the Reddit. People were upset that they weren't getting Twitch drops, or who was getting Twitch drops, or who was going to be partnered. We actually do have several answers from the developers that are helping us here with this confusion. So there was a video here that Joe Pipora watched, and he said it's filled with so much misinformation. However, I think that people were just confused on the Twitch drops because the way the wording was set on the website, it was essentially listing that everybody had to be eligible for Diablo 4 content. And I don't think people knew if that meant that you had to be on the partnered list or whatever their verified streamer list is, or if that was only for the gifted subs. We do have that clarification here. So he said drops is for any streamer that streams Diablo 4 and turns it on in their Twitch channel. You have to turn it on in your little settings section. He claims it's only for the list, and it is not. So the supported streamer is actually capped by Twitch. He said we can only have so many for that, and the mount only one, which I think is totally fine. It makes sense with all this stuff. I just wish that they had clarifications more so on that Twitch drops page. So I don't think that it was that this YouTuber gave a lot of misinformation, because even I was confused, and it really didn't label anything. There was multiple Reddit posts and comments even after the article came out of people being confused on how that is going to play out. He made another tweet here just for transparency's sake. He said, for transparency purposes, support a streamer was offered to all creators who streamed either Diablo 2 Resurrection, Diablo 3, or Diablo Immortal over the last 6 months, or even the D4 beta/slam test. They were notified via Twitch notifications for opting in. And then even more transparency here, he said if you had marketing communications disabled in your Twitch settings for notifications, you may have never received it, in which is why it's so important to keep those options enabled for future promotions and opportunities from Twitch. He also again went on to say the program had an overabundance of signups, and we inserted the maximum number or maximum amount we could based off of platform limitations. This does mean not everyone who opted in made it in, but we made sure to do removals at random and not via any requirement beyond the above. So some massive clarifications on Twitch drops here, and I'm sure most people will be happy that you're going to get Twitch drops enabled for your channel. Now, we do also have another major controversy happening, but before the controversy, there had to be something in place for it to happen, which is actually a physical leaderboard. Diablo tweeted out here, said, think you can cheat on Alive, reach level 100 on hardcore mode, tweet hashtag Diablo 4 hardcore with proof to have your username immortalized on the statue of Lilith. The offer is limited to the first 1,000. So they're going to have an actual physical leaderboard, and if you're one of the first 1,000 players to reach level 100 on hardcore, you'll get your name essentially immortalized on this statue, or at least on this statue maybe they have in front of their office or at their office. Now, there is a major controversy with this that people are kind of discussing right now, and that is that reviewers were essentially offered a lot of time to play this game prior, and they were able to play the full game. A lot of people got to level 100 on several characters, Some people didn't put as many hours in as others, but others were able to get 5 or 6 classes to level 100 in that time period, or at least that's what they're alleging and saying. So people have had a lot of time to play this game, and they've been able to basically go all the way to level 100, and they know the entire game from start to finish. So what seems to be the issue there with that? Well, if they're going to have a race to level 1000, and there was a bunch of YouTubers and streamers who were able to play the game prior, and not just like play the game prior, but get all the way to max level and have a ton of time with experimentation, well, for race purposes, those people shouldn't be allowed to participate in the race. Or at least that would be my opinion. Even if I was given early access, I don't think that that would be something that I should be able to participate in, seeing as it's incredibly an unfair advantage, especially for a world first race like that. Now, it isn't like the hugest ordeal. It doesn't really affect you that much or affect me that much. I'm really not going to play hardcore, but the people that are going to play hardcore, I do kind of feel bad for them. Also, Rod kind of had a really out of touch tweet here that we'll go over. He had a tweet from the Saga YouTube here, who said, "Can we talk about those same creators competing in a race event you guys announced? This gives an extreme unfair advantage. This is not a new season. Setting a precedent of unfair advantage is not a good look." Rod tweeted back here saying, "How does deleting all their progress and making them start at the same time as everyone else give an unfair advantage?" Which is very odd because this is literally a race. It would almost be like if the guild was able to go through the entire raid for their world first and then do the whole raid and then they reset them. I mean, of course, that guild's going to probably win. They were able to play it. Or even if you were in a race and someone was able to pre-map the racetrack and go through it several times, and then now I got to race you or someone else has to race them, they would obviously probably win. That is a really out-of-touch tweet here from Rod. I mean, of course they're going to have an advantage. It's perfectly fine if you want to allow them to have the advantage, but to say that they don't have an advantage is pretty insane. There was another tweeter here in response by the name of Red Mercy, who said, "Man, seeing all the D4 devs so out of touch for so many things, marketing, KFC, dev live streams, etc. makes me genuinely worried about the game. And the recent fake QA did not help." Although again, I think the QA stuff was on Future Game Show. I really don't think that that was on Blizzard for once. Everything else I do kind of somewhat agree with, although I do understand why they're doing so many promo things. Especially the KFC one. I don't think the KFC one, the KFC promo is out of touch at all. The other ones are a little bit odd, like the one with the meat shake. But other than that, I don't really see that the marketing being out of touch for it. I think they're just going for an audience that isn't really going to be there, which is fine. But tweets like this do make me question why they're either so out of touch with reality or just so openly able to kind of lie about it to themselves and to other people. And it's not really this like major ordeal with this physical leaderboard, but it is kind of more so like the concept of it. If they don't really see it as an advantage as someone being able to play through the entire game, that's a little odd. As for that promo stuff here though, we do have another tweet from Joe Pipora, who talks about waiting for her response from Maddle here. And it looks like they wanted to do a Diablo X Barbie collab for a Lilith edition Barbie. I think that'd be kind of funny, especially with that movie coming out. I don't think that one's bad either. We did have a question that I actually had here, where this tweeter asked, "On console, will we be able to select the hotbar that sits in the center like on PC? Or do we stick with the left-handed stacked UI alone?" Rod said, "It was center for me as well. I think if you have a second controller plugged in, it moves it to the corner in case you wanted to fire up couch co-op." Which I noticed on a few other YouTubers that had it in the corner, but they weren't playing with anybody. So it's maybe that they were just having a second controller plugged in and then it was moving it to the side. So if you do have a second controller plugged in, just know that it's probably going to put your UI on the left-hand corner, and if you don't like that and you want it back to the center, just go ahead and unplug that second controller. I do have one last thing here about the cross-buy stuff. I had a commenter in my last video that was asking if they bought the cross-gen package, would they get early access? Rod did tweet to somebody here who was talking about the cross-buy stuff to play on Xbox and both PC, but he did say yes, but the incentives are shared. So for example, you only need to buy the Ultimate on one and can buy the base on another. Only issue is early access if you want it, only applies to the platform that Deluxe or Ultimate was bought on. So kind of cool there if you do buy the Ultimate Edition on Xbox and you want to play it on PC as well, you'll still have all your cosmetic stuff and things from the Ultimate Edition that will transfer over to the PC Edition. So you only need to buy the base. But I am super curious on what you guys thought on everything, all the controversies and everything like that, so please leave comments down below. I do respond to most of them. But if you like, I'd like and subscribe, and until the next one. Deuce.